Hey everyone, it's Alex Smith from Business Growth Bureau along with Rupert Honeywood. What we're going to be talking about now is how do you grow your business to be sustainable over a 3-year period. I suppose a best way to kick this off with is what do we do before we start those 3 years? What do we do to make sure we're ready to do those whole 3 years of growth?
Okay, well the first thing is to actually make sure the fundamentals are right in your business. So make sure that whatever you've got is working as it should do. So make sure your product mix is right, make sure your price mix is right, make sure that all your departments are working, broadly speaking, in sync. You don't have a problem with customer returns or issues over lack of support. Make sure as much as possible in your business is also systemized as well. Also, if you've got online means of delivery as well, make sure that's working very well and you've got that highly optimized.
I suppose a really good way of kind of summing that up would be that you don't want to be scaling a problem. So what you want to do is, as much as possible, try and iron out all the kinks before, so that when you start that rate of growth and you've got those targets in mind, you're not just scaling a problem that's already existing. An example would that be customer service?
Yeah, quite. I mean, obviously, you don't want to do that. Also, sometimes people have this perception that we think actually we're making a loss at the moment, but we could actually trade our way out of it. Well, quite often the reason you may be making a loss is actually there's some fundamentals wrong in your business. So if that's the case, it's probably the fastest way to go bust.
So
you need to look at the other way around, make sure everything's working fine.
Yeah, so what it might be worth doing in certain areas of your business is kind of A/B testing in terms of trying one method to see which really works more than another. And then you can then scale that particular solution and move forward with that. Would you say that's right?
Yeah, it is, and that can work particularly well if you're doing things like email marketing or pay-per-click and so on. Other types of marketing are a little bit different because it's sometimes a little bit less obvious where those opportunities are coming from.
Yeah.
But actually that leads on very nicely to something else. It's really important when opportunities come through, you always track them so you know where they've come from.
And so you know what's working.
It's working, and also around that, it's about knowing your numbers.
I suppose it'd be a really good time to mention, if you are watching or listening and you haven't seen many of our other videos, is that we have actually got an entire section on lead generation in terms of not only what we use, but what we use with our clients. And actually different methods around certain things that we don't use at the moment because they're not right for our business, but we just gave away tips that we know work very well for different industries. So if you are watching and you're wondering about different lead generation tips, we have got another video either on the website or on YouTube that you can maybe check out. I suppose another good thing would be the people around you. You're only as good as the weakest link, essentially, as it were. So is it worth looking at the people you've got around you as to whether your rate of growth and when that should be done?
Yeah, make sure your management team is really strong. Also make sure your sales team is really strong. If you've got business development managers, for example, make sure you've got some business development support resource available as well. Because in that way you can make sure your business development managers are able to seize all the opportunities that are coming through. They're not spending all their time working on very poorly qualified leads, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so kind of the thing to take away from that, I suppose, would be the resources you have that have actually been used for what you've employed them for. So something that we encounter quite a lot is they'll have a company will have, say, 2 or 3 BDMs, but the BDMs are actually doing a lot of prospects and reaching out to new clients, which is great because they're probably quite good at it, but it is an expensive resource to be doing with that. So what we do encourage and what we do cover in other videos is actually how do you plug in things around BDMs, so that's business development managers, how do you plug things in around them so they can be best used for what you've actually employed them for. In terms of the actual 3 years, what ways can we measure that growth? I know for us, for example, we break ours into daily, monthly and annual goals, but what should other people consider to reach that 3-year target?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, having things like cash flow forecasts, profit and loss forecasts, these are all vital things as well as a really good marketing plan. The big thing is to make sure it's also something you're very passionate about. You need to question why you want that rate of growth. It may be that your business has perhaps grown 5 or 10% per year consistently, in which case that's really good. You've probably got a pretty good business. People sometimes fear too much success. But if you want to grow at a fairly accelerated rate of growth, also make sure that you've got plenty of funding, either money in the bank, or make sure you've got some backup funding in place as well. Because quite often if you accelerate your rate of growth, your profits may go up, but you may find there's a problem with cash flow, because sometimes it takes 3 or 6 months of cash flow to catch up. And obviously the last thing you want to do is to start on a campaign which then sees you burn through cash, and then you'll find you'll get caught in this massive cycle all the time, or this trap. So and a lot of that's also about mindset. Broadly speaking, the key people in your business have got to want the same thing. So if let's say you've just raised investment and your investors or shareholders are expecting to see a 40 or 50% rate of growth per annum, if not more, then of course, and let's assume we've got everything else in place, there's lots of things that you can do around this, which will deliver that. So for example, let's say you're running a campaign on your own LinkedIn account to generate a really strong lead flow. The good thing is you could take your other business development managers and they could also run individual campaigns on each of their own accounts. And indeed, we can suggest ways of actually doing that as per a lot of the other videos. The great thing with that is it then means you can run multi-channels of marketing at the same time. And obviously that will help to feed into the rate of growth you want.
It'd probably be a good time to mention, although you've just mentioned LinkedIn there, and like Rupert said, and as you'd expect us to, we have got a bit on actually prospect nurturing and how to optimise certain platforms to reach your ideal clients and how to have the right conversations. Although LinkedIn's quite hot right now, the methodology that we talk about and the processes that we mention to our clients and to you right now is that although that works well for LinkedIn, that kind of procedure and that kind of methods could be used on near enough any platform. Because bear in mind, something that I think we forget quite a lot, especially in high ticket sales, is that people are individuals as well. Once they take the suit off and they drop the persona of the business world, they are individuals and we are all individual consumers. And people buy at different rates. So the methodology we talk about and that we use ourselves, it could be applied to pretty much any industry in terms of in most sectors. We talk quite a lot about a consultative sale, but you can use elements of that in near enough any kind of environment simply because everybody wants to be kind of interacted in certain ways, and all you need to do is find methods and channels that plug into that quite well. So LinkedIn right now is quite crucial in our area in terms of consultative, but things like Facebook and Instagram are highly effective in our areas as well. So think about your business and think about if you're not tackling current areas right now. So if you're very visual, say you sell quite nice clothing or bespoke kind of shoes or whatever, Instagram's amazing for that. Great targeting, cheap organic reach, and Facebook's good as well. So think about if you are looking at growth, think about not right now what's working well, think where will the world be in 6 months' time? Especially through things like social media. If you think how much people are on their phones right now and so on and so forth, you're probably watching this on YouTube on your phone right now or listening to our podcast. It's a lot of stuff is through the phone these days. So think about different methods that aren't working quite right now. Where might they be in, say, 6 months' time? Let's wrap this up. Final thing for people to take away from this video. What would be the one crucial thing you would say? Your best friend and you are sitting over dinner. What's the one top thing you would say to him or her to help him with the next 3 years of growth?
The bottom line is if you've got everything in place along the lines we described, you should just go for it. And just make sure that your management team is 100% behind you and they're also keen to support you as well. And that's what will really help you to cut through all these challenges, but also massive opportunities. Yeah. Massive opportunities when change is all around us, those opportunities ought to be sought.
The one thing I'd mention, and not to go too Tony Robinson on everyone right now, is that you need to love what you do. Like Steve Jobs said it best, is if you don't love it, you're going to lose all enthusiasm for it so quickly, because this is growing business and being in business and entrepreneurial. It's not as beautiful as the internet make it out to be. It's a very hard slog. You have to love what you do. So what you need to think about is make sure that the message or the products or services that you're selling to the world are things that you can truly deliver with passion. Whatever that is, make sure that you do it with passion and enthusiasm from day one that you have on day kind of 900. When you're 3 years in, you're towards the end of that goal, make sure that you love what you do. And that's the one thing I'd say take away from all of this.
Yeah, and the great thing is with all of that, if you love what you do through work, invariably that comes across in your home life as well, so everything becomes aligned, and then obviously we're on to a nice new horizon.
Well, exactly that. Well, thank you so much. I've enjoyed this one. This has been good. So thank you, Rupert, obviously, for joining us. Thank you, more importantly, for joining us either on our videos or on our podcast channel. We'd always say this, but thank you so much for watching. And if you have enjoyed it, leave a comment either on our Facebook page or on the channel you're watching it at. And we'll see you on the next video.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.